Okay, we are now live, and I am delighted to be here today with Laura Perkes to talk about how to get publicity no matter what stage you're at in business. So we have a few new members in the group today. I'm just going to check that we are live, and just to make sure that there's no tech issues. Sometimes we have a bit of fun and games with that. And there we are. So welcome, everybody. For those of you that are just joining, I'm here with lovely Laura Perkes. We are going to be talking about how to get more publicity no matter what stage in business you're at right now. So I'm really excited. For those of you that are new to the group today, I'm Natasha Harris, and I support soul-inspired leaders and business owners to really step into their next step in impact and leadership through the business, so they can have a thriving business that they absolutely love, have a little bit of abundance along the way, and enjoy really what we're doing and changing the world at the same time. So Laura, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited about this conversation we're going to have. So do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Of course, not a problem. All I'm going to say is when I was sending out an email and I was explaining to my tribe what the group is all about, I was like, this is so aligned to what I love to teach myself. It's all about impact and connection and making a change in the world. I was like, this is my kind of thing.
Brilliant.
But for those of you who are joining or watching later on the replay, I'm Laura Perkes, and I refer to myself as a PR superhero, mainly because I have been doing this since I graduated from university back in 2004. So I very much feel like it's my superpower. And for me, it really allows me to work with fierce female entrepreneurs who are really ready to step up and admit that they want more, because wanting more, wanting an abundant life, wanting joy in your life is all achievable. You shouldn't be afraid to admit that you want more. And getting in the media is literally just kind of going one step further beyond social media to get more eyeballs onto your business and for you to impact and influence people on a bigger platform.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Because, and I love what you said, it's about admitting you want more. Like, we all say it and we're like, oh, I'd like a bit more, or I'd like to have a bit more abundance, or I'd like to get out there a bit more. And we kind of we hide behind it a little bit. We kind of half say it, and we don't really know what that means. So I'm so delighted to be having this conversation with you. Now, I can see that there are a few people watching. So I'm just going to make sure, give us a like if you can hear us. And as Laura said, if you're watching the replay, just type #replay, tag Laura and I as we go through this conversation. We're happy to come back and answer any questions, but just so that we know you can hear us, it would be really helpful if we could get a few likes or a comment from any of you that are watching. Let's see what happens. Let me just make double sure.
That's the beauty, isn't it, about using third-party streaming tools, is that you're literally putting your whole kind of trust into something else.
I know. And then all of a sudden I was watching something the other day and they were chatting away, and then somebody must have managed to get their attention after about 5 minutes to say, your mic's off, we can't hear you. But it was literally about, so yeah, we love a bit of technology challenge in our business and like how it goes, but we've got to laugh it off, haven't we? So
absolutely.
I think people can hear us, so that's all okay. So Laura, tell us how you got in. And you said, you've been doing this since you left studies, and you've been doing this for a while, but what has led you to working with passionate entrepreneurs to really have a bigger impact through what they're doing?
Well, I studied public relations and media studies at university, so this is really something that I've been curious about since I was 18. But even before that, because I really wanted to get into radio. For me, having my own show and being the centre of attention, really kind of lit me up. But when I went to a university for an open day, and I walked into the room and I just saw wall-to-wall deck of technology, of knobs and buttons, and I freaked out. I was like, no way. I can't cope. This isn't for me. It just it threw me into a spin, because I thought, this is what I've wanted for so long.
Yeah.
The reality of it doesn't match up to my expectation. And my mum, God bless her, why do mums always have the answer? She said to me, you love communicating, you love building relationships with people, you love having conversations, look into something that's more communications based.
Yeah.
So I was doing research, and I just kind of happened to stumble across PR. And actually the degree that I chose to study was actually like a split degree. So I did a major and a minor. And in my first year, media studies was my major, PR was my minor. But I realised halfway through that first year, do you know what? Even the media studies side is still a little bit too technical for my liking. But I had to go and pitch to the head of PR. I couldn't just switch. I literally had to plead my case. And I think that was the first time I really had experienced what it was like to pitch. And then, he agreed, and we switched. So, for the rest of the 2 years, public relations was my major.
Right.
And it's just, I've always loved, I think because I used to want to be a journalist, I'm just a really curious being.
Yeah.
I am more than happy to ask questions. I'm more than happy to ask questions that other people don't want to. I can be quite blunt and direct to get the information that I want, because I know what makes a good story.
And it's all about a story, right?
It's all about a story.
We love a story.
All about your positioning. So working for big brands that I have done, for the first good half of my career. And I loved it. And being in a PR agency, no 2 days are ever the same. Your clients are a real kind of eclectic mix. And when I decided at 30 years old that, this isn't for me anymore, I no longer feel satisfied. I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like there's something else out there for me. I'm not sure what it is. So I'm just going to set up on my own. And I just had this real kind of, sometimes I don't know if to call it naivety or just an insane amount of self-belief. I was like, yeah, just going to go out on my own.
A mixture of those two generally are quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so for the past 7 years, I've been working for myself. And I'd say probably in the last 2 years, I've really kind of owned PR. Before that, I'd do a couple of social media bits. I'd do some marketing, but actually that wasn't my passion. That wasn't my zone of genius. They weren't my gifts. It was just something I did because a PR agency typically offers other services alongside PR. And I was like, no, PR is really what sets my world on fire.
Right.
And I was going through a rebrand. I was getting married. So it was kind of almost like a fresh start. It was like a fresh start, but with 5 years experience. And I tend to focus on entrepreneurs now because I am one.
Yeah.
So I know what it takes, and I know the mind monkeys that come up, and I know the chatter and the 50 million reasons why we can't do something. I get it.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to PR, especially when it comes to publicity. And I see so many entrepreneurs who get that kind of, their eyes sparkle when they talk about PR, but something just holds them back.
Yeah. Yes.
So for me as well, actually, half of the fun is getting them excited and getting them to realize that they can do it, that PR is for them, even if they've only been in business 6 months, if they've been in business 6 years, if they're earning £6 or 6 figures. Everyone has a story, everyone has an angle. You just don't always know what it is.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I think I wrote it in the newsletter that I sent out around this. Is like, don't write it off, just bear with us, because PR, it feels it's like it's for the big boys. When I hear PR, I kind of think, oh, that's for the big corporates. They've got the budget for PR. But, having talked to you and knowing you, it's like it's really realizing that actually it doesn't, as we said in the title, you know, it doesn't really matter where you are. There are things that we can do. And I know a lot of my community here aren't at that 6-figure stage. They are more in their infancy or in their first couple of years. So that's why I really wanted to kind of like bring you on and to talk to them, to show them that actually there are still things we can do around publicity and getting out there and being more visible. And, you know, as you said, you know, admitting we want more, you know, I think you said, you know, that's where the magic is.
Oh, 100%. And I know it because I'm still doing it.
Yes, we're still doing it. We never stop.
And people will say to me, oh, you know, what was the last publication you were in? No. I'm like at the bottom of my to-do list. So for me, actually podcasts and coming into Facebook groups and doing live, for me, that's my PR, because I want to bring my passion and my enthusiasm to other groups who are then going to be more curious and want to find out. And for me, it's all about building relationships. So the best way you can do that is by connecting with people in groups or on podcasts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love to be out there and, you know, chatting with people as well. And, you know, I didn't really think about that's publicity or that's PR. It's just like, I just love to have a chat. And that's why I invite people to come and talk to me, because it's all about, you know, having a good conversation and chatting to people and sharing ideas and sharing knowledge and sharing expertise as well. You know, it's so important. So I know you've got a few juicy tips to be sharing with people. So where do you want to start?
So the best place to start is at the top. And this is probably my all-time favorite tip. It's probably not anyone else's favorite tip, because you have to do the research.
Yeah, I have to say that's not my favorite bit.
I love it, because there's nothing I love more than kind of sitting on the floor, massive pad of paper, all my pretty coloured pens, and just spending time researching. And I'm sure everyone who's joining us live or everyone who's watching the replay, every single one of you will have somewhere that you would love to be. Whether it's a magazine, a podcast, a blog. I just want you to write that down and really feel into how it would feel, how it would look to be in that magazine or on that podcast or in that blog, and then really like step into that power of owning it. So when it comes to doing your research then isn't boring. It then becomes a bit more fun. So what I always say to people is, if there's one place that you'd love to be seen, literally like binge on that outlet. So look on their website, look on their Instagram, their Twitter, really get a feel for the articles that they're writing. And over time, you'll also notice the journalists who are writing those pieces. That's who you then pitch to.
Yes, and to really get to know them. I think that's true. We kind of have this shiny idea about, oh, I'd love to be there, or I'd love to be doing a TED talk, or I'd love to be doing, you know, whatever that is, and just like, you know, putting yourself out there, but actually really looking and seeing, you know, what are they talking about? What's going on, you know, in their world, and really getting to know them, because that's what sparks the other ideas of what else you can be doing. Yeah, that makes total sense. I totally makes sense.
Yeah, and I know people like within my network who have pitched themselves to editors, and they've said all I did was follow them on Twitter. I'd comment on their posts, I'd engage with them, and then when something came up that suited my area of expertise, I could then pitch myself, feeling confident that I could provide them with the information that they needed.
Yes.
So it can feel a little bit like you're being a stalker, but it's social media. That's what it allows us to do. We're lucky. When I started out in PR, I'd only just got an email address. So when I started university in 2001, I didn't have an email address.
Yeah.
I don't think I even had a bank account. But anyway, so over the years, social media has become this amazing tool. And I find it a fantastic place for research and for connection, because moving on to my second tip,
that's it, isn't it?
It's all about building that connection, because a little bit like your sales process, if you're talking to someone completely cold, it feels icky, it doesn't feel right. Whereas if you're warming people up, if you're getting to know them, even if you've never met them or had a conversation, when it comes to pitching to them, you have something in common.
Yeah.
You can refer back to an article they've written or a post you've seen on Instagram, and then it feels more familiar.
Yes. No, it's so interesting, isn't it? It's the piece. I mean, like, people reach out to me, or like I'll get certain things and I'll be like, you don't really have a clue who I am or what I do, or like, you know, even, you know, potential clients, and be like, you haven't read anything about what I do and how I work and what, and it always intrigues me. It's like, well, what's that reaching out? What's the purpose of that? What do you want from that? What do you want to get from that? And so I always come at that then from a very confused place, because I'm like, I don't really understand what you want. So it's the connection building, about understanding that common ground, so the other person isn't like confused, is thinking, I'm not really sure why you're contacting me, and then it's just like ignore.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is as well, and sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit blasé when I talk about this, because I've been doing it so long. I have almost forgotten what it felt like in those first couple of years when I was just starting out and I was having to start from scratch. But then I think I had so much self-belief in myself that these thoughts didn't even come into it. I just kind of, because it was my job to almost break down doors for my clients and get them noticed.
Yeah.
So I guess it's that level of, I guess, confidence when you're 21 of, well, this is what I'm paid to do, so this is what I'm going to do. But then I think the older you get, unfortunately, the more stuff you listen to, the more you can talk yourself out of it, because everyone else has got evidence to prove why it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's so true as well. And we've got to keep trying. You know, I'm always talking about, you know, taking aligned action, but, you know, and not stopping. You know, we sometimes, you know, it's so common, isn't it, for people to stop just before we make a breakthrough around something, and or we don't even try because we're looking too much at the evidence, and that's where it's not so good to do the research of why things don't work. But if you feel something so passionately, and you know, you really believe in something, as you've just said, you know, it's like nothing is going to stop us. Like, we'll have challenges, we'll have things that might get in our way, but we'll just figure out a way around them. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what, you know, so many of the people in this group are all about, is like figuring out, it's like, I've got something I want to be doing in my life, and that this is really important to me, and I've got to figure out a way around it. And so, you know, I love what you're saying. It's the connection piece. It's being, I guess there's an element of patience in that as well, right?
Of course. And the thing is with PR is sometimes people do approach it as maybe a last resort. They've tried everything else and nothing else has worked. The thing is with PR, it takes time, because you're building these relationships, you're having to do that research. Because again, I say to people all the time, if a publication or a podcast isn't covering your area of expertise, there's usually a reason. And it's not because somebody hasn't thought of it before. It's usually because their readers or their listeners aren't quite ready to hear it and receive it yet.
Yeah.
I worked with a client a few years ago who was all into manifestation and orgasms. And obviously for you and I, and probably for a lot of the people in your group, we understand that.
Yes.
But conveying it in a way for the masses to understand, it just wasn't. And journalists were intrigued. It just we couldn't get it past that fact of people would be like, oh, so is it like a vibrator? Oh, is it this? And it's like, oh no, like I'm quite not basic. When I explain things, I believe I simplify it as much as possible. And I thought, I can't simplify this in any other way. And then I thought, if the journalist doesn't understand, the readers aren't going to understand
it either. And the audience have to be ready for it, I suppose. And that's what, you know, I guess it takes somebody to take that risk to go, let's do something that's a bit left of field and like a bit unusual, and just to see how it lands as well. And that's, I guess, putting trust into making those connections and not writing anyone off, because you might just land on making a connection with that person that actually is, like, oh wow, this is really intriguing, maybe we can make this work, and how can we make this work?
Yeah, and then that's the beauty of social media is, these journalists are people. They have their own hobbies and interests outside of work. If they're then talking about your area of expertise on social, you can then pitch them an idea.
Yeah.
Because they're already open to it. And okay, it may not make the magazine, or it may not make the podcast or blog, but if they then decide to tweet about it or put a post on IG, you're still talking to their followers. You're still influencing and making an impact. It's just maybe not necessarily in the way that you originally intended, but you're still getting more eyeballs on your business.
Yeah. So, and it's so valuable, isn't it? It's still so important for us to remember that, and not to stay quiet, not to stay in the sidelines, to really be getting out there in ways that we can. That's got a strategy to it. It's not just random. There has to be a strategy around it as well, because otherwise that's just a lot of hard work and effort. But I love that, getting out, doing the research, getting out a piece of paper, getting out the colour pens. Always love a colour pen. And then, start making those connections and building those as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess you've actually already touched on point number 3, and that is just be resilient, and I guess don't take no for an answer, because it's very rare that a journalist will reply to you on the very first email that you send.
Yeah, I think that's the same with everyone, right? We're all so busy.
Yeah, and I read some research on the weekend from like one of these kind of journalist databases that also can distribute press releases. Even they said that the open rate on the follow-up email is always higher than on the first attempt. And someone else I know put out a request on a wire the other day, and even as a PR, she said she had 250 people get in touch with her. She said, this was me as a PR. I don't know what she was asking for, maybe samples for an event.
Yeah.
And that's one request. She said, if journalists are putting out several requests a day, their inbox is blowing up. So if you don't hear back, it's not a no.
Yeah.
It may just be, it's going to take me 3 weeks to go through my inbox. It may be that they just save your details, but they don't let you know. I mean, I'm terrible. Friends can message me, and 3 weeks later, I think, oh, wow, I haven't replied. Let me go back to it. Journalists are just normal people. And sometimes if it is a no, it's not a complete no. It's not, no, you're rubbish. You don't know anything. You're not good enough. It's then almost an invitation to come back and tweak your idea or create something new. And if the coronavirus outbreak has taught me anything, it's that you need to be able to react in the moment. Because at the start of COVID, the news stories I was seeing were crazy. It was things like how to apply self-tan, how to cut your own fringe, all these how-tos that are just sprung up from nowhere, but we're all of a sudden giving all these like small businesses and independent brands the opportunity to shine, because they were able to react in the moment and provide tips for things we needed now.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? It really is. And I love that, it's not about taking things personally. I talk about this a lot, and it's really never about us. It's like, what else might be going on? And, as you beautifully said, it's not a no, it's an opportunity to look back and tweak something to make it slightly different, to stand out in a different way. It's never wrong. It's just an opportunity for us to change it. And that I go on about tweaking things all the time. It's not about throwing it out and starting again. It's like, what little thing can we change about what we've just offered that actually might resonate a little bit more? And so that is such a valid point as well. And I think goes back to, sorry, to my community, what I keep banging on about is like, tweak, course correct. Don't just get rid of things, So thank you for that, because it's so true.
Yeah. And I think a lot of probably what I'm saying actually is about business in general. It's doing that research, making those connections, and not giving up.
Yeah. Yes. No, I think it's so true. And we can't hear that often enough, because I think, you know, we say, oh, yeah, we know that. Of course we know that. But do we? Like, do we really? No, I don't think we do. And if anyone is being really fully honest, I'd like to know who's watching and saying, yeah, I totally do that. I've got that in the bag and I'm totally ace at that. Let us know, and let us know how you're doing it, because I'm sure that's will. And I know for myself as well. So, you know, and I love that. It is about taking the responsibility to do the research for yourself. It's like, where do you want to be seen? Where do you want to be visible? Not everywhere, because that's not your audience. So really being very clear about yourself, and I guess setting yourself boundaries as well about, like, are you willing to pimp yourself out to anyone and everyone? Or is there somewhere really that you want to be seen, and really being clear about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have conversations with entrepreneurs, and I have to say to them, it's not always about where you want to be seen. It's about being seen by your ideal client.
Yes.
So where are they hanging out? Because you may want to have a full page feature in Psychology's magazine, but if your ideal clients are reading The Sun, you need to be in The Sun. And I get this a lot. Like, so many entrepreneurs I speak to, and a lot of them are in the States, their hero title is Forbes. I get it all the time.
Right, that's interesting.
And then I kind of say to them, but your ideal client's reading Forbes. And they'll say, no, but I will feel like I've made it if I'm reading Forbes.
Yeah, we put ourselves in this false sense of illusionment, don't we? That actually, if we've made it because we've done this, but actually we made it when our readers and our people are coming to us and going, hey, I want to work with you because you sound amazing. But if they're not, yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Kind of like a few alarm bells going off in my head. I need to go down and get my paper out, my coloured pens, and do myself a bit of research. You're absolutely right. Thank you for that reminder. That's so important. So important.
Yeah.
So if anyone has got any questions, there's still a few people watching. If you've got questions and you want to ask Laura or I something, please do pop it in the comment box. But if you're watching the replay, then just type #replay and tag Laura and I, and we will come back to you. This is, I mean, we could take this into so many different tangents. Seriously, we probably need to have another conversation again. I say this to everybody that comes, because I just get so excited about the conversations and thinking, yeah, this is so valuable and so important. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think I've been scribbling away as you've been talking. I've got a whole half page here of notes. So I hope everyone else has been as well. I've got a few things to go away and do and tweak, I think. But Laura, tell us where, you know, I know you've got something that you want to share with the community, and where we can find you.
So the best place for me actually is Facebook. It's, for me, the space that I love hanging out in. It really helps me to connect with people with Facebook Messenger. But then also I can see on my Google Analytics that most of my website traffic comes from Facebook. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
so you are more than welcome to connect with me on my personal page. Otherwise, I do also have a group that I would love to invite you to join.
Yes.
It's called the PR Accelerator.
Oh, that sounds good.
And I have been a little bit guilty of neglecting it recently, but, you know, September is the new January. I've got new ideas to kind of revamp it and really push it forward. So it'd be great actually to have an influx of new people to really kind of get started and ramp up activity between now and the end of the year, really. So.
Yeah. Yes, which is such an important time of the year as well, isn't it? So we will put the links for anyone that's watching. We will put the links into the bottom of the feed of this Facebook Live. So do come and join Laura over in her Facebook group. And yeah, anything else you'd like to share or to say as a way of saying, you know, yeah, closing up.
I guess for me, I'm really biased because obviously I've made a career out of PR. It's very much like my passion. All I'm going to say is each and every one of you has something to share, whether it's your own personal story, that can impact other people, whether it's your expertise. And again, I know a lot of entrepreneurs shy away from classing themselves as an expert. If you know something more than the next person, you are an expert. So again, if you've been in business 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years, you have something that you can share with people that's going to help them make a transformational change. So you are doing yourself a disservice by keeping yourself hidden. Everyone needs to know about you, because you can help people make life-changing decisions and live a better, more joyful, more abundant life. So stop hiding, get out there, get more publicity, raise your profile, and honestly, you'll have so much more fun. You'll be making much more of an impact, and most of all, you'll be earning more money. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those words of wisdom. So important to remember. And I love the word fun. You know, we all want to be having fun in our business and enjoying it. And yeah, and if this is, you know, if I would really highly recommend that, you know, to watch this and to take some notes and to get started on this thing, you know, on looking at where you want to do it. And so thank you so much, Laura. That was really, really valuable. Definitely for me. So I'm sure lots of people will be watching this on the replay. And if, again, as I said, if you've got any questions whatsoever, please do reach out to Laura or to me, and go and join Laura in her Facebook group. Let's create some noise in there.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. I've had an amazing time.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much, Laura. Bye, everyone. And we'll see you again next week for next week's Soul Wisdom Show. Bye for now.